The S12 has leaks everywhere. I think it's leaking from the rear main seal, tail shaft of the transmission, and there's a small coolant leak underneath the intake manifold. Here's another KA intake manifold. It's like back underneath the back of it. It's such a pain in the ass. Alright, so it's the, see that silver wrapped line on there? It's a heater core delete type thing, so it just loops, and where it loops into the block, comes out of the block and goes into there, it's leaking from there. So I am loosening the clamp, gonna push it on tighter, make sure that the clamp's positioned properly, and then tighten the clamp back down, and hopefully it doesn't leak anymore. Yeah, and it's like jammed on there, huh? Chris did it. Exchange of the clamps and new ones on there. Let's hopefully it doesn't leak now. Everyone wondering, that's a freeze plug on the side of the block. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's fucking bubbling away. It is. Got a crack in it. That sucks.
I've never seen that.
It sucks.
It is cracked. I can see where the bubbles are coming in right now on the back.
Yeah.
Watch, you'll see the water start to pool over the spray.
Cracking the goddamn freeze plug. You can see the water going into the solvent. Son of a bitch. This car is a real basket case. I mean, please remember, I didn't do the swap. This was done by someone else. It's leaking from pretty much every system. Right now, there's a leak, a coolant leak in the freeze plug, which is just rust coming through the freeze plug, and it's like a super pinhole leak and only really leaks under pressure. It made me think it's a head gasket. Hopefully, it isn't actually the head gasket. It was leaking oil from the valve cover, and every single bolt on the valve cover was stripped, so I had to heel the coil, all of them. That was a nightmare. I think it's leaking from the rear main seal or the front of the transmission. I'm not really sure, but it only does it after running and it's warmed up. So that, I think, would point towards the rear main seal, because I think the transmission's also leaking out of the rear tail shaft of the transmission. I already got the seal for it, 71B rear tail shaft seal, but I have to jack the car up, take the drive shaft off, do all that stuff. And also the power steering's leaking. The front right side of the power steering is just dumping power steering fluid, and I haven't even hooked up the pump yet. I just put some fluid in it, just so there's fluid in it, and it's dripping. So pretty much every system is leaking. Also this, we'll talk about that soon. There's gonna be a whole video on this. Well, I can't get to the freeze plug well enough to deal with the intake manifold off, so intake manifold's gonna have to come off. I guess there's a right way to do things, huh? Well, in the process, I think I'm gonna clean up stuff, like, not as crazy as I did with the Celica, like polish and shit, but I don't like the painted black intake manifold. That looks absolutely garbage. It's gotta be polished, wrinkle blacked, powder coated black, or just stock, just vapor honed. Those are the only options that are acceptable for intake manifold. Dude, this is gonna suck. Oh well. So we're gonna start with the map, intake piping, throttle body cable, obviously all the plugs, injectors, and the harness, vacuum lines, drain the coolant, power steering, bracket. I'll probably like remove the power steering pump, take off the bracket, upper plenum, fuel lines, lower plenum. I think that's it. Let's get it. Alright, so we're jamming over here. This thing is super sick for the clips, like the MAF clip and the TPS clip, getting little metal wire things out. All you S13 guys know. This thing is killer. And then just totally taking off the wiring harness. It's super easy. Okay, I pulled the harness off. I had to pull it out from the hole that I made down there. I want to fix so much stuff so much better. So much stuff is so terrible and disgusting and horrible in this car. But yeah, so we're on the way. I gotta take a little break because it's like literally 100 degrees and I'm dripping sweat and heat exhaustion. So I'm gonna drink some water and then come back and continue. The fuel rail is out. 2 bolts. The fuel lines are back here. And I took this bracket off because I want to clean it, but it has like the line that connects to the fuel filter. So yeah, I think next is all the stuff, all the vacuum lines that connect to the upper plenum, and then there's like 5 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the upper comes off. The upper intake plenum gasket is off. Like I said, this stud, 3 bolts there. Someone basically glued it on with exhaust RTVs, so I had to hit it with a mallet a couple times and it just popped right off. But I have to get the lower and off now. Also, do not forget the coolant lines that go through the throttle body to warm it up. Done. Took me about an hour and a half. Also, tip that I've learned from watching YouTube a lot, if you don't already know this, make sure to put your hardware back in the bolt holes that it goes. It makes it a lot easier to remember later. So look, you can actually see why I'm doing this here. See, it's leaking coolant from there, and you can see because of rust. So we're gonna have to do something about that. So I want to strip these down, pretty much take everything off of them, paint strip them, and then wrinkle black both of them. I gotta tape them up before I paint them, obviously. Maybe simplify some stuff, but honestly I want to keep it mostly there. Why not? It's more skillful. Got the manifold all stripped down. Gonna start stripping off the paint. Back again the next day. I fell asleep. Didn't get very much done last night. So we'll pick it up today, see where we go. Alright, that's as stripped as I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna paint it wrinkled black. And I think that'll be enough adhesion for that. This one's a little worse, but I think it'll be alright. I gotta tape everything off. I gotta take all that gasket maker off, take all the sensors out, and then paint it. I got all this other stuff. Got all this other stuff clean. We're in the process of cleaning, so yeah, on the way. These coolant tubes, got those cleaned up. Steel with some steel wool. Working on the fuel rail. Just going for that brushed finish. So I discovered a cool trick that if you need to mask these off, you can put on the masking tape and then rub something like this on it like this, and it creates a seam, almost like a perforation, and then you just peel it off. Pretty good. Day 3 of changing a freeze plug, and we have the entire intake manifold completely taken apart, painted, refreshed, and whatnot. Let me give you a little brief explanation of what I've done. So clean these. Unfortunately, this injector seal is different. It still works, but these are all going to have to be replaced eventually. But I don't have funds for that right now. Idle air control valve was cleaned on the inside and wrinkled black. I taped everything off, as you can see. Power steering bracket. What the hell is this called? One other control valve, I forgot what this is called. But this thing I just cleaned up with steel wool. Steel wooled this, and this. Just steel wool just to get it to this. It's not amazing, it's not polished, but it'll look alright. Way better than it did before. On this stuff, I used VHT plastic paint. I know it's not ideal. I mean, if I wanted to go full FDS spec, I'd have to replace every single one of these with brand new lines, but I don't have the money for that right now, so I'm just gonna make them look alright. And the VHT plastic paint should hold up pretty well and not like mess with the lines too much. Now, coming over here to the main course, we have the exhaust or the intake manifold itself. I hit this with the VHT classic wrinkle black. It's pretty good, high temperature stuff. Very, very durable. So if you drop a wrench on it, it's not going to immediately chip. All that. I'm going to sand off this so that way that is like very shiny, and I'll probably even like maybe polish that. We'll see. Taped everything off, real good. Got all this. I taped off the hardware and cleaned them with a wire brush before taping them off, so they should look pretty good. If I wanted to go full FES spec on this, it would have to be new gaskets all around. A lot of stuff would be like zinc coated and stuff. If I wanted to do like Jimmy Oaks, I'd have to like cut a lot of stuff off and like shave this because this isn't necessary and stuff like that. I didn't delete any of the coolant lines for the heater core because eventually I would like to set that up. And if I really, really got into this and I really could master this, the goal is to have AC and all the smog equipment hooked back up just to see if I can do it. But yeah, I'll peel this tape off real quick. Quick little mock-up. Came out pretty good. I mean, if I wanted to go further with it, I would have vapor honed it beforehand or sandblasted it and then painted it or powder coated it really, but this is like the poor man's version of making it look good because you can like drop wrenches on it and shit and it doesn't even care. So yeah. Also, this didn't come out ideal because the gasket maker I had to use, but that sealed up also. There's like holes where the rod was in between the cylinders. That's not good. I wish I could weld those up, but I can't. That's probably, I don't know if it's going to cause a lot of problems, but it's definitely not good because it's like, yeah, at least if anything it's turbulence in the intake. But anyways, this is looking good. I guess I gotta do the freeze plug and throw everything back together. Hey, fuck this thing. I hate freeze plugs. To get it out, I just got a socket extension, shoved it in the corner of that, and beat the hell out of the back of the socket extension with a hammer until it budged, and pulled it out with some vice grips, and it just right out. It's in. I just used the tiniest amount of water RTV on the outside of it, you know, the RTV for the water on the very outside of it, and tapped it in with a socket that fit perfectly inside of it. Boom. These clamps are all mismatched and stuff, so I made them all the same type. And that was all 6mm. Lower intake plenum is on. It's a pain in the ass because of the coolant hoses up there in the front and the ones in the back underneath there, but got it done. She's on there. Torque. This lighting is terrible, but it already looks so much better. We're here with my homie Chris, and we are making sure this intake does not hit clutch fan. Which, I mean, it should look pretty good if we get it mounted up. Like, alright, I'm down for just zip ties because this is just iteration, another iteration, but see what we'll come up with. Do you need a ratcheting 10? Holy shit, look how gangster. Shake that thing. Oh my god, it's mounted better than the fucking radiator. Thank you, Chris. I do appreciate you. Look, for anybody wondering, that's what we got going for now. This is temporary. Don't worry, we're gonna make it look much better, but that's like way better than what I was gonna do.
More better.
More better. And you can see he installed the glass of water, which improves performance quite a bit. So we just discovered that there's a crack in the radiator on both of the welds, on two welds near the bottom of the mounts. So that sucks. I'm gonna have to buy a new aluminum radiator.